Amazing. Wonderful to be
Thank
in
you.
partnership with you
Thank
and the
you.
team.
Thank you so much. So we are expecting Silveraju to be with us.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, I would like really to welcome everybody who is joining us now with this great webinar. And today I will start a little bit saying something about Arenina. As most of you know, Arenina is working in the North Africa and the Near East region. And today, one of the hot topics, which is really very important for everybody, is how to move to digital systems in different aspects, and how really can you work with the farmers, with the extension agents, with the rural advisory services, with all of the people who are involved with us, and to maximize the benefit and to also maximize the benefit of time while you are working with the people. So at Arenina, actually, we are putting a lot of effort in this. So one of the great work, actually, Dr. Selvaraju introduced us to Dr. Rikin Gandhi, and we signed an agreement actually between Arenina and between Digital Green, where Dr. Rikin is the executive director of the Digital Green. So in this case, actually, we are very happy really to have this kind of work and to have this collaboration and to benefit from the work they are doing. At the same time, the region at our side will benefit from that. So this is really a great time for us. With us today, actually, to start this work, one of our really close friends and the one who is really putting hands with Arenina to do the work and to really advance its work. So FAO supported us with two projects, with the DatePal platform and with the Olive platform. And we are moving ahead actually in those two platforms, and we're moving ahead in the digital work at the level of the region. And we are participating in every event in the region in this aspect. So today, actually, it's really a great time for us, and it's a great opportunity for us to have Dr. Silveraju Ram Samari, who is the FAO Senior Office in the Office of Innovation. And I would like Dr. Silveraju to give you the floor to address the beginning of this webinar. And then after that, we can move to the lecture of today. And you will introduce also Mr. Rakin, who is going to start this discussion. So, Dr. Silveraju, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rida, and thank you so much, Rikin, for your availability very early in the morning. I hope you are joining from California, right?
That's true. San Francisco.
So, okay, San
At 7
Francisco,
a.m.
sorry.
at his end.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And this is very early in the morning. And so thank you to all the participants for making your time available for attending this important meeting. I'm not going to take a lot of your time, as you know, that the digital tools are making a lot of efficiency gains both in agriculture research as well as the extension and advisory services. On the one hand, we witness unprecedented development of technologies, especially the digital technologies. But on the other hand, we see a lot of impacts at the smallholder farm level, especially from the changes or challenges driven by climate change and also demographic shifts, urbanization, and environmental degradation, especially land degradation, specifically in this region, and also the aspects related to water scarcity, etc. And these realities highlight the pressing need to rethink and how we can approach research and extension. And of course, FAO is providing the strategic support to our members to strengthen the agriculture research and extension systems, especially making sure that the ecosystem of agricultural innovation systems, bringing together agriculture research, extension, farmers organizations and farmers and other bridging institutions, and also the private sector entities, especially the small scale seed producers and input suppliers, etc., at the local level, how they could be part of this iterative process of technology development and sharing with the smallholder farmers. The urgency of this transformation is underlined by FAO strategic framework as well. As you know, that technology is one of the four accelerators within the FAO strategic framework, which has four betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life. And we have 20 program priority areas called the PPAs that are focusing on the technical aspects of this work. And there are four cross-cutting accelerators, so that technology is also one of them. So technology, innovation, data, and complements. So these are all kind of the accelerators into FAO strategic framework. The technology accelerate. Our aim is to make sure that the technologies are integrated as part of FAO's programmatic and operational work, especially to enhance the efficiency of what we do, and especially in support of our members. But however, there are significant gap exist, especially when we talk about agriculture research and extension systems. As you know, in agriculture research, it is continuously being incorporated into the agriculture research work. For example, I have done my PhD thesis more than 35 years ago. Started in 1989. So I was able to use the crop simulation model for doing research, especially to look at the crop suitability for over 100 years by using climate data, putting into the crop simulation model, and we could able to generate the yield. And it's not just the temporal dimension of this variability, we also look at the spatial dimension of this variability. So it helps, or it complements the research work. So this is a kind of tools, and nowadays the AI is also becoming so prominent in many type of the research, agriculture research we do, mainly aiming to improve the efficiency of the agriculture research. So adoption of innovative technologies is often hindered by regulatory barriers, including the limited resources with the agriculture research and extension institutions, and also inadequate capacity building mechanisms at the institutional level. For instance, recent FAO assessment highlight that less than 30% of the smallholder farmers in low-income countries have access to basic digital advisory services. But this is not really enough. We need to go beyond this. Basic digital tools. It doesn't mean that they have enough information that could influence the decision making by the farmers. So therefore, we must emphasize a paradigm shift. Digitalization is not just a technical process, it is a transformation in itself, how this can contribute to enhance the efficiency of the decisions at the local level that can produce the outcome that we wanted. So there must be like a significant increase in yield levels, so that use of these tools really making the changes at the local level. So it demands inclusive extension and advisory services, that could bridge the gap between technology and the diverse realities of farmers worldwide. So it should give opportunity for them to have a range of options to choose the decision that they want according to the local context and also according to the resource availability, etc. FAO's work from Technology Accelerator Initiative to its pluralistic extension models exemplifies this commitment to inclusivity and sustainability. In the FAO side, we promote the pluralistic extension and advisory services where multiple actors play this role that was done by the public sector extension services for long time. So now the landscape has changed, and there is more opportunities for making use of these digital tools and approaches to reach out to the most vulnerable communities. So there are many different applications, especially in agriculture research, like enhanced precision and productivity and traceability and quality control and discussion support systems, as I mentioned before, putting or changing the inputs, looking at the past variability and how this could generate different type of outcomes and how this range of options can influence the decisions of the farmers. So making use of the discussion support system, including decision support system, will be helpful to improve the decision making at the local level. So looking forward to the integration of AI and also big data in agriculture research holds immense potential that Rikin is going to talk about this because I'm not going to take much time on that. Looking at the extension advisory services, improving accessibility is one of the key aspects. We see that only 25% of the smallholder farmers have full access to the extension advisory services. So how these new tools and approaches can improve the accessibility so that the equality in terms of the information access could be achieved. And reaching remote and vulnerable population is one of the key aspects that really the lack of resources, a lack of investment in extension advisory services is a key barrier that limits availability and accessibility of the information to the populations who are vulnerable to all these challenges that I mentioned before, and most vulnerable, and they live in remote areas. So how these tools can be useful to make sure that it is accessible, facilitating market linkages, financial inclusion, etc., weather and climate information services. These are all range of opportunities that we have, and I'm happy that we could able to work together with Arinina, especially in establishment of the two major knowledge portals. One for the days, the platform for sustainable date palm production systems, and the other one is for olive production systems. This is a very good example, how best, making these digital tools for knowledge exchange also improves the research. It improves the efficiency of the research. You learn from each other. So to conclude, the digitally enabled research and extension systems offer a powerful pathway to inclusion and also inclusive innovation in agriculture. By leveraging technology, we can bridge the gaps, build resilience, and empower farmers to thrive in a changing world. But this journey requires collective effort, including governments, the national agricultural research systems, NGOs, and private sectors and local communities. We should all come together, and this is a best example how FAO, Arenina, and also Digital Green, they come together to promote this idea of inclusivity. Let us commit to fostering transformation, which is much needed, and that leaves no one behind. And together we can ensure that the promise of the technology translate into progress for all. So thank you so much. And I hope I didn't take a lot of your time, because this is increasing efficiency of extension and also the research systems is the topic for a long time. It's not just it started in the few years ago, and we have seen the approaches of agriculture research for several decades. It started from the linear transfer of technology and participatory farming system research or participatory research, experiential learning, and also agricultural innovation system. There are many, many different approaches that they were in place, but all this focuses on inclusive innovation or inclusive technology development, how best we can make sure that whatever we develop reaches to the farmers efficiently, effectively, and also on a sustainable basis. So thank you so much, Dr. Rita. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And I'd like also to say here that the FAO in our region established what is so-called AFRAS. And AFRAS is the Arab Forum for Rural Agricultural Advisory Services. And it is almost somehow close to the concept of GFRAS. And also it's collaborating with GFRAS. So thank you so much, Dr. Selvaraju. And I would like to welcome here Mr. Rakim Gandhi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Digital Green Organization, and who is going really to address the subject of Farmer.Chat, an artificial intelligence assistant for agriculture development and application with extension workers and farmers to improve decision making. So, Harakeen, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rida, and thank you so much, Dr. Selvaraju, for bringing this collaboration together. We're very excited about the partnership that Dr. Rida signed earlier on this call. Digital Green started 16 years ago, initially as a part of Microsoft Research in India, in a group looking at technology for emerging markets, with the focus on seeing how could technology be used to improve the efficiency of agricultural extension programs. And where we began was with using videos that would be produced by and for farmers in collaboration with existing extension programs run by ministries of agriculture and rural development in India, Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria. This network of extension agents, more than 100,000 that we've collaborated till date, has produced more than 10,000 videos in 40 languages that feature local farmers as stars, sharing their testimonials and demonstration with their peers, because the first questions that people often ask is, what's the name of the person in the video, which village is he or she from? And this approach has helped to increase the efficiency of existing agricultural extension programs by a factor of 10 times per dollar spent. About 4 years ago, we embarked on seeing how could we partner with CGIAR and its network of local centers, along with the National Agriculture Research and Extension systems across various countries, to make this content more targeted. And so we, as an example, we partnered with SIAT in Ethiopia to combine data about farmer registries, about their profiles, name, location, gender, phone number, that could be linked with soil information about micronutrient profiles, agro-weather, context, terrain information, and deliver more site-specific fertilizer recommendations. And that's what you're seeing in this chatbot. That is a deterministic chatbot where government development agents in Ethiopia are able to get these site-specific fertilizer recommendations. And it's a two-way exchange. Not just that you're able to get these recommendations, but just as Dr. Selvaraju said, you can also get feedback and data about how many farmers actually applied these recommendations. And what were also the constraints? Did they get access to the adequate amount of fertilizers to be able to execute the recommendations and such? And this has been able to scale to more than about 500,000 odd farmers and extension agents across Ethiopia. And with SIAT's own studies, been able to show that relative to the blanket fertilizer recommendations that were previously promoted, could boost farmers' yields by 38%. About 3 years ago, we began working on leveraging the advances in generative artificial intelligence so that these types of site-specific fertilizer recommendations and other decision support tools for cattle dairy farmers, for feed ration balancing advice, or for irrigation and fertilizer use, or for sow and harvest timing, along with the historical library of 10,000 videos and other dynamic data sources like weather and market information could be combined and made accessible by uh, a conversational user interface wherein extension agents and farmers could use local language, voice, text, and images to be able to query and be able to get not generic ChatGPT types of answers, but information that is time and geographic specific and proximate to themselves. And that's what you're seeing in this uh, application being shown on screen, where a person is able to get weather information and ask these types of integrated questions about should I sow or should I harvest now, and is combining dynamic weather and video information and surfacing it in local languages, in audio and text form. We're seeing this flip the paradigm of extension so that it's not just from research to extension and then to farming communities, but also as farmers are on the front lines of climate change, that farmers are also able to express their demand and also their experiments that they're attempting in the field that can then also help to inform extension policymakers as well as researchers. With that, I'll give a quick demonstration about how this system works in practice. So this system works across popular communication platforms like WhatsApp and Telegram, as well as on a separate mobile application that we call Farmer.Chat that you can download from the Google Play Store if you have an Android device. But what I'm going to show to you is a web-based version of this application. And what we find is that for farmers and extension agents, it's often a challenge for them to even be able to articulate what are the questions that they might be facing in the field. And so we also prompt them to be able to know what kind of questions they can ask of the system so that it doesn't just depend on them having to come up with a well-formed prompt or question. And what you can see here is for this question that I asked about stem borers in my maize crop, there is a chain of thought reasoning that breaks down this query into its component parts. And then a response is generated along with citations that pertain to the sources of information that relate to this person's query. And in this case, you can see both the English and on the right side, the Hindi version of this query. But of course, this can be done in different languages, whether Arabic or others. And where there's a video that pertains to that person's query, we're also able to extract the particular components of that person's of the video that pertain to that person's query, as well as the full video link. And the reason for that is for farmers and extension agents who have limited internet or data costs that might be prohibitive. Instead of having to watch the whole YouTube video, they can just watch the components of the video that pertain more directly to their question. And then this is not just, about the static information that might be in a video or some fact sheets that are created, but also we're able to source dynamic data sets, whether that be weather or in this case, market information from the government of India's source for market information about this particular maize price that this person is asking questions about. And then similarly, as I mentioned, we're able to integrate and orchestrate queries to decision support models that might already exist. And that might be a place where ARENA's network of local organizations and research organizations that are creating various types of decision support models can come in. So that when a query is asked about a specific piece of information, like for my location, I want a fertilizer recommendation, this doesn't go into the generative AI type of system, but rather gets parsed and then is routed to a decision support tool that in this case is from SIAT and gives this more site-specific recommendation as per their model based on the location and the various soil, weather, and terrain types of considerations that are incorporated into this model. Also, this system is multimodal in nature. I'll just upload a photograph. Just what to do. So I can also submit like a photograph as I just uploaded. And then and along with my query and this photograph, it diagnoses what is the issue about these kernels that have some Fusarium ear rot issue, along with the recommendations. And again, in this case, it's not just calling our system, it's also using other systems, like in this case, as it references Plantix's API that is really good for pest and disease classification. And again, if Arena has its own sort of photo or image-based classification algorithms or models, that can be plugged in into this system to make it more relevant. Finally, I'll show some examples about the latest advances in how some of the speech models are also working.
मकई की फसल के लिए कौन-कौन से उर्वरक आवश्यक है? क्या थोड़ी देर के लिए रुक सकते हो? बीज की मात्रा और बुवाई की दूरी कितनी होनी चाहिए?
So I'll just stop there. But as you can tell, that's all in Hindi. But basically, what it's able to do is in real time, you're able to talk in local language, Hindi, or in any language, Hausa for Nigeria, or Kikuyu for Kenya. And in real time, it gives you a response. And there's basically zero latency in that I can interrupt as the AI agent is responding to my question. I can respond to it and redirect it as required. Now let's show a couple more slides. Now, of course, as some of you may be familiar with, these generative AI systems are not perfect out of the box. But what we've also created is a system for review and correction and validation. And this can also be a place where Arena and its network could come in. So what you're seeing here is how it basically queries and the answers that are generated of the queries can be scored by an agronomist or an expert, and where they can compare two different models and rate which one is better or which one should be combined with one another. And they can also do that at a phrase level to make corrections. And this creates what is called a golden question answer set that both helps to create a benchmark for evaluating how these generative AI systems are performing, but also is used for helping to train the models so that they can be more aligned, right? So that they're can reduce the rate of hallucinations and increase the quality as per agronomist expert reviews and advice. And we found that this can make a huge difference using this kind of tool and system to create these golden question answer sets over the last 9 months or so has been able to reduce the factual correctness of the responses that this AI system is able to generate from initially about 70% to more than 90%. And this is not just by magic, it's by these human evaluators who are reviewing this the responses that the AI system is creating and then making these corrections and then generating this golden question answer data set. And all of this data set, we actually publish openly on online so that other organizations can review them, also add to them, because we really believe for these generative AI systems, it's not going to be solved just by each of us doing our own piecemeal solution. We really have to come together as a global agricultural community to make these systems more aligned towards the kind of climate and gender objectives that we all share. The types of use cases that people use for this Farmer.Chat system are quite variable, but they're used first for self-learning and self-guidance. For a lot of these extension agents, they're often undertrained, under-oriented, and the AI system often serves as a teaching assistant for themselves to get refreshed on the latest innovations and research information, as well as when they're in group meetings, they may not know the answer to every single question that a farmer has because of their specialization might be for one thing and farmers might be asking about another. But here they can be able to ask the questions across a broad section of information that has been provided into the knowledge base that they can then query and learn about. And then similarly, by taking photographs or taking audio notes on the field with farmers or by the extension agents directly, they're able to support these farmers more efficiently. And for farmers, they're increasingly using Farmer.Chat directly because in a lot of places, the ratio of extension agents to farmers is low, and the specializations of these extension agents might vary from what the farmers are looking for. And so as the factual accuracy of this Farmer.Chat AI stack has been improved, then we're finding that farmers themselves are finding a lot of value to use the system directly. And then where necessary, of course, they can escalate to the nearby extension agent for in-person support or for service provision for access to seeds or fertilizers or animal and livestock veterinary care as might be required physically in person. But this can serve as a first point of triage for them. And all of what Digital Green does is created open source so that other organizations can build their own applications and bots on top of it, or they can also plug in their own information services they might be offering, whether that's government or whether that's the private sector, into existing deployments of this Farmer.Chat application that we already have in the field. I think what is most exciting is that relative to the previous work that Digital Green has done with extension of using videos by and for farmers and taking existing extension messages and recording them on video and being able to share them with many, in this case, it's much more demand driven based on what farmers actually are interested in, the issues that they're facing. And this generates a whole set of insights and analytics that can inform researchers and policymakers. And what you're seeing on the left is the types of questions that farmers are asking. This is from a deployment in Kenya over the course of time across different types of practice areas. Of course, you can get more granular and look at the actual usage logs and see what are the issues that these farmers are confronted by. And of course, the AI system is not perfect, nor is like the knowledge base. But what we can do is identify what the gaps are and close them by prioritizing particular research agendas or knowledge creation efforts towards addressing the kinds of concerns that farmers actually have. And that's why we've actually also published the usage logs of farmers after removing the personally identifiable information onto also open source so that other organizations, CGIAR, ARENA, others included, can look at it and be able to perhaps offer solutions for areas where the AI system has gaps. Also, what's exciting is the rate of adoption of these improved practices has been about double than what we found with our video extension work. In our video extension approach, about 15% of people who would watch a particular video would actually go back to their farm and execute or apply it on their farm. But for a lot of farmers, the video might not be relevant to them. They might be in a self-help group of women setting, and they might watch a video related to some rice production practice, but perhaps some of those farmers don't even grow rice. But in this case, because it is much more demand-led, the farmers and extension agents are able to ask questions that are directly related to the needs that they actually have. And that's why we found about a 30% adoption rate of the practices that farmers are learning about on their field, because it is just much more demand related. And then at a system level, what we're finding that generative AI is unlocking is this ability to reduce the cost per adoption of improved practices. The conventional extension system, like the demonstration plot or field day kind, often costs about 35 US to get one farmer to adopt one new practice after considering the cost of running those demonstrations, bringing in an expert, having farmers get exposed to it, and then some fraction of those farmers doing that practice on their farm. The video approach we found was able to reduce that cost down to 3.5 US with these local videos that farmers were able to relate with, that were mediated amongst small groups of farmers at a high frequency, about once to twice a week. But the Farmer.Chat application, wherein farmers and extension agents are able to use this multiple times in a day and are much more demand-led and also at a much lower cost, is only about 35 US to get one farmer to adopt one new practice. Now, at the same time, about 30% of the queries that farmers are asking in this Farmer.Chat application remain unanswered. And the reason for that is people are looking not for generic types of information. They're looking for much more site-specific information for their place and their time and season of year. And unfortunately, there's just not enough extension or research knowledge that can fill that gap today. There are, of course, decision support models and tools for various things in different places, like the site-specific fertilizer or the feed ration advisory that I mentioned, but they're often very narrow in terms of the commodities and geographies of coverage that they focus upon. And so what we're exploring with CGIR and some other researchers is to see how can you take some of the existing decision support models that have already been created, that have been ground validated, that have input and output pairs that have been ground truth, and see how large language models that are the foundation of these generative AI systems, how that can, along with additional data sources like remote sensing, and other kind, can extrapolate these existing decision support models for adjacencies of similar agroecologies and similar commodities, so that you can take an existing decision support model that has been validated and expand its coverage for wider support to give these customized advisories and recommendations to farmers, because this is what they're looking for. And in return, you can get these data and insights and feedback from the communities that can help to tune these models better towards their needs and towards their interests. Finally, as I said in my remarks, we really believe that there's a real opportunity to build this as a shared infrastructure for the agricultural, for small scale producers domain globally. So we've been having discussions with Dr. Selvaraju at FAO, others at the World Bank, the Gates Foundation, CGIR, and would love to also collaborate with ARENA on seeing how we can create this sort of shared infrastructure of an AI stack that is able to speak in the vocabulary that farmers want to understand, both for speech to text and text to speech support, to have these types of benchmarks for quality that of the responses that these systems are generating, with support from the agronomists in your network, to create this shared infrastructure, and then be able to put this out as a public good so that other organizations don't have to reinvent the wheel when they want to stand up their own chatbot or their own application, that they can leverage the types of decision support models and Q&A and other types of systems in this AI stack that we could co-develop as a community together. So I'll pause there. Thank you very much, and looking forward to collaborating with all of you.
Thank you, Rikin. Actually, this is really great work, and in our region, I think AI is no longer something we just think of, but should be a must, because in our region, the challenges, there are a lot of challenges. So I think unless otherwise we really utilize the AI in helping in those issues, I think it would be very difficult for us in the regular and the traditional ways to do the work. But one question, actually, I was giving a presentation one day, and one of the students, actually, it was a classroom, and one of the students was asking me, uh, how about the certainty of the decision made by AI? So how can we really make sure, or how can we test the certainty of the decision made by the AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really important to I mean, we don't want to introduce more risk to these farmers who are already facing so many risks as it is. But that's where it's so critical to partner with experts like yourselves and your network of ARENA, because you all can help to review the types of answers that this system generates and make corrections so that we can align the system towards what is actually determined to be right or correct from a agronomy point of view. So Digital Green, we don't believe that we are the experts. We have to partner with organizations like yourselves and your network to make this type of golden question answer set and tune these models so that they actually create the kind of positive impact that we're all after.
And that's why we look at AI as a smart expert
Exactly right.
Yep. Okay, we'll open the floor for discussion. So please either you raise your hand or use the chat box. So I'm looking there to see if there are raised hands. So Raya, you may help me also.
We have Dr. Anwar Haddad, Dr.
Engineer Anwar Haddad, please.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Rida, and everybody on the floor. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think is an important subject because I think we are going to this matter in a way or another. So now it is from my experience on this issue, it is a tool, and it depends on how much how you build the information and the reference of each case and each issue. Actually, if we are talking about diseases, or whether we are talking about quality, or whether we are talking about the soil content and fertilizer and all of these things. Yes, it's very important. Thank you for this. My question is about the reference for each case and for each issue. I think this should be built. Is it, or whether it should be built for each country, or we may rely on the references built in other countries. Suppose that I'm talking, for example, if we are talking about the NDVI for dates, or the NDVI for orchards, or the NDVI for other crops. It's different from for different crops, but I don't know how much it's different from country to country or from area to area. Yes, Mr. Aki.
That is a very good question. So I think you are correct that it doesn't have to be done country by country, but it does have to be done sort of for comparable agroecologies and commodities. So, so for example, right now we don't have, at least in our current system, we haven't worked on with a collaborator on date palm kind of issues. But however, if we did work with Irina in some geography on it, then I don't think we need to necessarily work on it in every geography. That was kind of related to like one of my final slides around seeing how you can use a large language model to take an existing model that has been created in one place, and then being able to extrapolate it for adjacencies of comparable agroecologies or commodities. So I don't think it has to be done everywhere. That's, I think, the power of some of these large language models. But on the other hand, it does have to happen somewhere, so that there is some basis of validation and some ground truth information that can go into these systems and then be able to extrapolate, because you can't obviously extrapolate from kind of nothing. So we have to start somewhere, right?
I think there's a question from Bashir. Bashir, you raised your hand, is that right?
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Bashir, and I'm working for Agriculture Research Corporation in Sudan. And I see this topic is very interesting. Still, there is a lot of counter pressure, between people on using AI in giving information, and that information could be taken without any hesitations. So my question, I think, is a little bit is not different from my colleague, but I would like to know on what kind of database that the Farmer.Chat depends, because we know that there is a lot of differentiation between, or a lot of difference between, even in the same country or in the same states. The soil is different, the climate is different, the crops are different. The recommendation itself for each crop are different from place to place. So the database that the Farmer.Chat used, is it that database for the same locations of that country, or is it better to be uploaded with a lot of database from the same area that can improve the answer of Farmer.Chat, or just depends on a general database that Farmer.Chat that has? So that's my question and my concern about this application. But still, it is very important, and I like the idea, and we are going to work to see that if we can use it and to improve the findings. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, I mean, it's basically a function of the information and the decision support models that are connected into this AI stack. So, yeah, as I mentioned, if there isn't models for certain commodities or for certain geographies that are validated and good, then of course, like the whole AI stack will also equally not be able to support it, and will also not provide a response against it. However, where you might have them, if you have them in certain geographies for certain commodities, that can be plugged in. That would be like the first thing. And then the second thing would be to see, how far can the large language model extrapolate from that existing thing to perhaps adjacencies of similar commodities and geographies. But even that extrapolation, one would want to validate that extrapolation is within the confidence bounds that would be appropriate for like farmers to receive that kind of information. We wouldn't want to extrapolate it and have such high degrees of variance that it could create more uncertainty or risk for the farmers. And this again could be like an area of collaboration with researchers and experts like yourselves in Arena to help with both plugging in what the existing decision support models already exist, and then for this extrapolated version of those models to adjacencies of commodities and geographies to help to review them before having them deployed on the ground would be really important. And I think only all of you in the research community would be best positioned to help to validate.
Well, this is great, but I have also another question. If we just chat, not in writing, chat in verbally with the AI, and in some region we have different slangs. We have different sometimes. So, does that affect the system, or it can work with that?
Yeah, that's also a good question. So for certain languages, like say like Arabic would be very well supported, but say as you just said, for some of the dialects or colloquialisms that people might actually
Dialogues,
use
yeah.
in normal vocabulary in the agricultural domain, we we would want to test first to see how well does it perform out of the box, and then where required, we can train the system. This is what we do even in some of the other geographies where we work, like Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria. There's similar sort of colloquialisms in that like people don't use percentages or chemical names or uh they don't refer to units of land in terms of acreage. They all have their own, vocabulary at a local level. So what we do is we work with at a local level to collect the data about how do people refer to these kind of things in their local vernacular, both in speech and also in text. And that's then what helps to train the system for being able to handle that. This is actually a relatively more finite problem than, say, like trying to cover the whole language. We're only trying to focus on the agricultural domain. And so even within the agricultural domain, there's some variation, but you could say that it's a relatively finite vocabulary that people are asking and looking for information. And so we can tune these systems with just like a couple, like tens to 100 hours worth of like kind of speech to text or text to speech kind of data.
I see Dr. Selwa, your hand is, you raised your hand, okay?
Okay. Hello. Hello, everyone. Thanks. Good work. But my question is, AI is easy to relationship between you and many farmers? Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Could you just clarify that question again? As in?
AI is
Ah.
easy to relationship between you and many farmers in this work?
Well, let me just first understand the question. قصدك دكتورة إنه يعني ممكن يعمل علاقة مع مجموعة مزارعين في نفس الوقت؟
Yes,
هذا
يا
قصدك؟
دكتور. صح كلام.
Okay. The question is, through this AI, is it possible to work with many farmers at the same time, like they are all joining each other and discussing issues to each other? I mean, that's possible?
Oh, as in like multiple farmers talking
Yes.
to each other, or the AI talking to each farmer?
The AI could work with many farmers at the same time and could chat with them. It's like if they are discussing a subject, the AI would discuss the subject with a group of people.
With a group, yeah. So yeah, for certain types of platforms, that functionality exists. So for example, like in WhatsApp or in Telegram, you can have like a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group with your peers. And similarly, you can have this AI system within those groups so that like one farmer can ask a question, let's just say, and then the AI system can respond to it, but all the farmers in the group would receive the answer so that not every farmer has to ask the same question because one person already did. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, maybe one day AI will become a member of a family.
It is possible. Sadly,
That's
but
possible.
possible. Sad, but possible.
Okay, well, Raya, please help me if there are any raised
Doctor,
hands.
Yes, we have a question from Dr. Adil. Dr. Adil, you are unmuted.
Dr. Adil, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reda, Mr. Zelviago, Mr. Ricken. I'm really amazed with this chat AI model. But the more we made progress, the more challenges we'd like to reach. So my point here about this 30% of unanswered questions. Is it possible to select specific area of land in a village or so where all local information about the soil, about the weather, about everything is fed to the system, where all questions gonna be answered, and then we can expand a little bit to adjacent territories or communities and such, because it is good if one time we say 100% of the questions are answered. But again, what you have been made is really something, an excellent work that you should be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind appreciation. Really appreciate it. To your point, yes, to some extent. So it's not just that like we need the data, but it's like we need the models for certain types of decisions within a geography, like a village. Let's say about like sow timing or harvest timing or fertilizer use or irrigation or something like that, right? And so there might be some decision support model or tool that has been created already by the research community using some of this kind of ground truth data. The AI system would need that model too, in addition to the data, and then it could be able to perhaps extrapolate it to other adjacent geographies, but it couldn't do it just with like the raw data alone. It would need your guys's like research expertise that could be with the models that have been already created that could make it possible to extrapolate.
Dr. Adel, if you have any comments, you are
Raya, do you see any?
Thank you. No more comment. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Well, at the end, I really would like to thank Mr. Rakin for this really great subject. I think this is the future of the work, and there is no way for us to sit and wait. I think we have to work in the region because that's one way where we can go ahead, where we can reach our farmers, we can work with them, we can solve problems, we can get to really solve a lot of the challenges which we have in our region. So, Mr. Rakin, I would like to thank you so much, really, for this informative presentation and for the discussion we have. Dr. Silveraju, I would like to thank you so much because you are the one who introduced us to Mr. Rakin, and at the same time, you are the one who always there supporting Arenina with its projects and with those really digital work where we can move ahead in the region. I would like to thank everybody who joined us today and who really shared with us this discussion. The presentation will be recorded and it will be available on Arenina website. And if somebody wants also to receive it, we can email them the link. Dr. Silverojo, I will give the last word for you, please. So please.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is wonderful and excellent that we could reach out to the National Agriculture Research Systems and also the scientists within the network of Arenina. I think it is the ball is in your court, and you can reach out to Rikin at any point of time, and he's available and to collaborate from this from his own organization. From FAO side, we have a MOU with both Digital Green and also, of course, Arenina is part of many different activities that we do together. Thank you so much, Dr. Rita, for organizing this meeting. And thank you so much, Rikin, for excellent and wonderful presentation. I have listened to this for a number of times, but every time I'm learning new things. Thank you, Rikin. And thanks to all colleagues from the countries. So thank you so much. Thank you. We look forward to collaborate with you from FAO side, and of course, it would be good if we could also invite our regional office in Cairo to be part of such kind of events in the future. So we are looking forward to collaborate with you.
Dr. Rida, could we have something very specific in certain crops, for example?
Well, actually, we signed an agreement with Rikin. So if there is any specific thing, please let us work together and we will communicate with Rikin and see how can we really do something. I'm sure you are talking about date palm. So yeah, let us talk and let us see what are the things which we have in mind and how can we manage that, and let us communicate with Rikin. And we have already signed an agreement. We will work together and we will be having also in the future some other webinars or some discussion with more specific either crops or regions or problems. So this is actually the starting point for us, is to start the MOU signing and also to have this webinar today and to get the people to know. And that's why we would like everyone to be in contact with Rikin, and we will send the email and his website, the website of the Digital Green. So please let us see how can we really benefit of this in our region.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Have a nice evening. Good morning.
Thank you.
I know
Have a
from
good
place
evening.
to place it's. Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you
Wonderful
so
to be in
much.
touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rita. Thank you, Dr. Selvaraju.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rikin, and have a wonderful day.
Same to you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, bye, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Rita.